And welcome to the Confound Millennial, starring Steven Stirvin Michaels and featuring special guest Jake of Arena Games.
Welcome.
What's
Thank you
up,
for
my
having me.
friend? It's been a minute. Been a long time.
It has.
About 3 months since I left that hellhole you call home, but
uh, you stopped by once since.
yeah, I left there 6 months ago and I stopped by once, and I always want to make sure that I go into my favorite card shop because it's just not the same up here.
uh, you're in Kentucky, correct?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. So how's the weather for you guys?
I was able to leave the house for the first time yesterday for a week and a half.
Whew.
It was 2 inches of ice,
I'm
six
complaining
inches
about.
of two
I'm
inches of
complaining about
ice,
strong winds.
and then we had 6 inches of snow. And I live on a hill, and it's just for a couple days it was just a solid sheet of ice.
Good for sledding.
Yeah, good for sledding. The children, my cousins had fun. I did not. Almost quit smoking cigarettes. It's too cold for that. So, Jake, tell me a little bit about yourself to the fans that don't know who you are, meaning Chandler and Caleb, everybody else.
Well, my name is Jacob Geras. I work or own Arena Games in Cleveland, Georgia. Um, been a big gamer, geek, so to speak. Not so much in the computer world, but on the tabletop. Work a full time job on top of which. So, and have a family of two young boys and a wonderful wife who is very, very good for me. Great partnership and just living the dream, I guess.
Yeah, I was about to
And
say, I
going,
guess you're living the dream and getting 1 hour of sleep, right?
if that.
Dang, dude. I couldn't imagine, but to be running your own, I call it magic shop. What do you call it?
Actually, that's normally what I call it. But I have to say I did upgrade myself. I did previously own what technically was just a magic shop. About 10 years ago, I did run the Circle with two other friends of mine. And then we ran that for a year and closed that down. And then now I'm actually running Arena Games. And that one, this one's more of a game shop because we do miniature gaming and other type of board games and things of that nature. So I'm kind of happy to say it's a gaming shop.
That's
So
good.
I like to think of it as an upgrade.
It definitely is. I mean, you've got a full TARDIS in there with a secret room behind it. It's beautiful. Definitely an upgrade from the
Oh,
Circle.
I have to thank my wife for that. That was her idea. I came across as we were getting a fridge for the shop. The appliance place that I got it from had a phone booth, and as soon as I saw it, that's what I thought of as the TARDIS. And she's like, "Well, we can cut it up and put it as a doorway." And I was like, "Oh, that's awesome!"
Beautiful.
And it is bigger on the inside. Best part.
So, how long have you been playing Magic?
Since fourth edition and Ice Age, back in '96, I believe I started collecting cards. Now, actually playing about 2 years after that, I didn't completely figure out how to play the game, and I had no one else to play it with. But then when I figured out how to play and had some friends to play with, that's when I pretty much started. And it was always in and out of it throughout the years. I didn't get heavily into it until Zendikar, and so shoot, I don't know how long that was. But when Zendikar, the original Zendikar came out, that's when I actually started steadily playing, and I still dropped in and out of it, but steadily playing Magic since then.
All right, I got in. I want to say it's the second Ravnica set. right after
Return to
Avison Restored. And I've been playing a little on and off, but more on than off since then. I
Oh,
remember I had two buddies, Jarrett and Ray, and Ray is going to be on the show very shortly, talking about streaming video games. But they would go into the circle all the time, and they ended up building me my first deck out of their spare cards, and uh, I remember I love the character Tybalt to this day because they were like, here, this card's worthless, have this.
very small play with that card.
But there was
Tybalt's a great character. He came back in Kaldheim, and
very excited.
he's proven to be a much more useful character this go around.
Well, they could have done anything to
He's a
make him more useful. Like literally anything, and he's more useful.
well, when he was first introduced, he was the cheapest of all time planeswalker. I believe a 2-drop. And yeah, you got maybe one little use out of him, and that was it. And then he was gone. They did do a little reprint with him as a secret lair for stores only. They sent it out, and it was a white bordered version of Tybalt's. So that was a nice little giveaway.
Now, I was going to dive into this a little later, but since you brought up Secret Lair, how do you feel about the Secret Lair drop so far?
Uh, to me, Wizards of the Coast is producing a lot, one after another, of a bunch of different things. We had Jumpstart, Ikora, everything's just coming out. Double Masters, Secret Lairs, just we're being pounded with so much. So it's a lot harder for a lot of the player base to keep up with it. Secret Lairs, I like the idea behind it, except I just think they're coming out with too much too fast with it, and it's making it kind of difficult for people to keep up with it. Uh, I've come to the conclusion where I'm only going to be very picky and choosy on the Secret Lairs that I go for. I wasn't very happy and pleased with the Walking Dead series. It would have been awesome if it was a bunch of different zombies they came out with or something instead of printing absolutely new cards that you can only play in certain formats. So I've got a little pro and cons on it. So the idea is there. I just think they're overshooting it.
I think like when it first was announced, I was under the impression that they would be releasing it about to the pace that they have done the signature spell books. And I
Yes.
feel like if they did that, maybe more people would be into it. But it's just, especially like they keep doing these super drops every couple of months where they release 5 different sets, and you have to, isn't it? I may be wrong here, but don't you usually have to pre-order them to get them?
Yeah, they'll go on sale. You pre-order, and they pretty much print out what all the orders are, and they stop the run after that. They don't produce any more, from my understanding.
But yeah, it's I wanted the one with the cats that was one of their first drops. I wanted that, but I didn't. I just I didn't know. I couldn't. I couldn't talk myself into it. I was like, they're cool cards, but like, what am I going to do with this crap?
Yeah, a lot of them are kind of, hey, I'm just going to post them up or hang them up or display them somewhere, unless you actually have something that you're already using a lot of those cards with. But most of them, you'll use one or two, not all of them. So mine that I haven't gotten yet, that I am going to seek after, are the Bob Ross, because I grew up watching Bob Ross on the telly. So I think the Bob Ross ones are going to be pretty cool with the pretty little pictures in the background.
it's it's freaking like it's weird since Marvel has just made crossovers mainstream with everything. All the weird crossovers you get in all media and video games. You got Bob Ross and The Walking Dead and Magic. I just broke down and got Tron and Fortnite, and I don't even play Fortnite. It's just it's strange the different worlds that are crossing over constantly nowadays.
And in Magic, there's a lot of crossover with the D&D lore, and which is coming up here shortly in the Magic world. The first time they're actually having D&D crossover into their realm. But in D&D, you have a lot of the like Theros, Innistrad, and things of that nature. So it's been there with the crossovers for some time. There you go.
Yeah,
That's perfect.
I saw that at a old. I ran into an antique shop, and for some reason they were selling Magic the Gathering D&D minis, and I was like, ooh.
I've got to have one.
Oh, it's not one, Jake. I've got like 10.
How many did you get?
I got a set of Theros and Ravnica.
The whole set?
Not the whole set. I am not made of money. Yeah, I can. But yeah, I got a blind box of Theros, and then I got a starter kit of Ravnica that had like
Nice.
5 guild leaders in it. But I had to get those because Theros and Ravnica could be my favorite sets. Like just based off of the story.
During the circle.
You go ahead.
During the circle, our first pre-release was Theros block, so that was a lot of good times for us, and it was a very good block, good set, very fun, a lot of utility. You had some meta, but there was a lot of extras, and so the player base and the game styles and things of that nature were very fun at the time to play.
I liked, I'm a big, I don't read the books or anything, but I'll, if I can't sleep every now and then, I'll pull up a Wikipedia page and dive into the lore. Is that ever been a thing for you, the lore of Magic, or is it just the gameplay?
It always has pretty much been the gameplay for me, but when it comes to the lore, when people talk about it, I do listen up because it is interesting to me. I do eventually want to break down and break back into actually reading some of the novels and things of that nature whenever I find time, if that ever happens. But there are a lot of cool stories, and then it also kind of leads you. It explains a lot of cards, and too, if you've never gotten into the lore, then you start hearing some of the lore, you'll be like, "Oh, that explains this card or this character and things of that nature." So I do want to get into that eventually, but from what I've been told from a lot of the storylines and stuff like that, it was very entertaining just to sit there and listen. I've got a lot of customers that are into it. And when they just start talking, I just pretty much shut up and just start listening and ask a question here or there. And then they just keep continuing. Over an hour and a half was my longest just listening to somebody talk about it. So it was pretty good.
And, I usually don't preview episodes just in case they fall through or something. But I already have loaded a song from the next band, just a quick little clip that I'm having on the show this week, and I can't not show you this while we're talking about Magic lore. This is a band I found out about last week called Planeswalker, and here is a clip of their song, The Forever Serpent. just to hear a song like that, like drop names like Dominaria and Nicol Bolas, to me, I don't know, it just gave me goosebumps when I first heard it, man.
Honestly, as soon as I start hearing it, I'm just imagining a Japan animation version of Magic the Gathering going on, and it's the intro song.
It'd be
Uh,
beautiful.
so it's right up that alley right there.
But I'm having them on coming up after this. We've had a very Magic the Gathering week and a half. Have you ever heard of the deck boxes Pirate Lab?
Pirate Labs, someone's actually just brought that to my attention, and I'm looking into that. As bringing them in as a vendor for me. One of my customers actually has one of their bags, and he loves them, and he only goes with their equipment. So
It's very, very top
yeah.
tier deck boxes. I got one for Christmas. And I love it. And the last episode we released, we actually had the founder of the company on. I didn't even realize. I just had him on because he was the lead singer of a band I loved called I Fight Dragons. And we
Huh.
got started talking about Magic, and he's like, "Yeah, I originally started. I don't work with them anymore, but I started a company called Pirate Labs for Magic the Gathering boxes." I was like, "What?"
Oh man, that's awesome.
But we've got three main goals here to talk, or that we talk about on this show. We talk about music, we talk about magic, we talk about mental health, and I've been diving all into magic this past week and a half. We even, I was debating whether or not I'll show this on a show because we're going to get sued one day. But we got some new merch that came in, and I just want to show that off real quick. Designed our own dang magic cards. I thought you'd get a kick out
That's of
that one.
awesome. I want one. I'll frame that and hang that up in the store.
Do it, man. I wish I'd got them oversized, but I didn't realize how easy and cheap it would be. If I just dedicated a couple hours to coming up with the rules, it's very easy to start your own card game.
I've actually not a card game, but I because of my son, I've been actually thinking about making my own board game, which would actually allow people to use any RPG system and bring it to a tabletop scenario. And you can literally do any of your RPGs within this type of setup that I'm going to create. It's kind of a little based off of an old Martin Bradley game, Heroes Quest. And so you'll have cool little decors, whatever, set it up. And then as you go through your labyrinth or whatever that you create as a dungeon master, and you can play out your scenarios and give it more of a realistic feel to it, give more imagination and things of that nature. Because when it came to role playing games, it was very hard for everybody to get on the same page of what all is around them, scenery and things of that nature. And this kind of brings everybody in more of the same picture for the storyline. And since with Dungeons and Dragons and Pathfinder and games like that that have their own miniatures, it also gives them an outlet to reuse them in other formats too.
I love, I don't have
Um,
the patience for it. I did it one time, but I loved the experience of the one time I painted a miniature. I keep,
I'm getting into Warhammer right now, and that's one of the big hurdles I've got to get over is getting the painting jobs. That's one not my special skill anymore. I did back in the day, but not anymore. And finding time to paint them is very hard. So I'm getting there. As soon as my army's done, I'm ready to go. We'll start Warhammering it up. The
so
gameplay's where it's at.
other than Magic, what is your favorite like nerd game? Whether it be a board game, card game, video game.
I was never really big into video games. Board games was really where I really liked it. There was a lot more person to person interaction. Um, Showed a little more skills to me. But as growing up, I'd have to say Hero Quest was one of my favorite board games. And then now, recently, me and a few buddies at the shop, we've been playing a bunch of Legendary, Marvel Legendary, um, from Upper Deck, and then also playing Red Dragon Inn, which is kind of at the end of a D&D campaign, all the characters would go to a pub or a bar and whatnot, and they fight and get drunk, and that's what you're playing out, is them doing that. And it's pretty fun. Doesn't matter if you win or lose, it's just playing the game is just enjoyable
Sounds
and a
fun.
good old time. But they also have we also have Haunting of Hill Haunting of the Hill House, my bad, and which is really a random kind of spooky scenario game, which I'm enjoying a lot. And Pandemic. Pandemic is a very good and very hard game. I love games that you don't win. The whole table doesn't win, and you're playing against the game, or you're trying to play together. That to me is just awesome. I love being there's no winner, stuff like that. So and board games, and tabletop games, and all that, they're coming out with a lot of good games and a lot of new ways of playing games. There's a new game somebody's trying to introduce me to where you actually have to have some online where it plays spooky stuff and certain things are going on a screen as you're playing the game. So I'm interested in checking that out and seeing where that goes.
So you mentioned video games. You've never really been into that, so you don't have any interest in Magic Legends that's coming out soon.
Honestly, this would be the first time I heard about it.
Really?
And a lot of the stuff that I hear about, yeah, a lot of the stuff I do hear about Magic or what's coming up, since I'm so busy with work and in the shop and getting things going, I don't have a lot of time to dig into it. So I have a lot of customers like Caleb comes up and he shoots me things. I have another customer, Jeffrey Thrash. He always shoots me things on Facebooks on things that are coming up, and then I just post them on my Facebook page. And that's where I learn a lot of what's coming up too. As horrible as a shop owner to say that, but that's where I get a lot of my information on upcoming things.
Hey, if you're
But
busy, you're busy. But
yeah.
Magic Legends is the best I can describe it, and I'm no expert because they're just showing a little bit right now when I haven't sat down and watched any of the alpha test playthroughs yet. But it's like top down like Diablo type, but you play as a planeswalker and you get to choose out of which color you get to be and customize your character and
That actually
whatnot.
sounds fun.
It's what Magic has
There.
been needing in video game form instead of getting the same remake of a card game, on the Xbox over and over and over again.
Hmm. I remember the first PC when I was a kid. They did a Magic where you only had so many card choices, but you built and you challenged other. You'd go around the board and you'd run into creatures or whatever. Then you'd have to duel. Uh, Always thought we're getting into that there'd be more display. There wasn't. So this actually allows you to do something a little more, and that's actually a pretty cool idea. To be Chandra or Gideon or Liliana or Tibble or anybody like that in the game, that would be awesome.
Right. Speaking of
I'm
the
sure you'd fight Nicol
planeswalkers,
Bolas.
who's your favorite planeswalker?
Ah,
I know
well,
your favorite
I'm
planeswalker
really
to
a green
play,
mage and a red mage when it comes down to Magic, but Nicol Bolas is really up there. But my number one would have to be Ugin.
which why do you hate Caleb so bad?
Why do I hate Caleb so bad?
He calls me
Oh, I love Caleb. He's
every
awesome.
couple of days and he's like, "This Ugin the spirit dragon, man." He's every other day he's running by a new
Caleb hates Ugin
Mhm. Every other day he's running by a
every
new way
time.
to beat that deck you've got. But
Uh,
it's
I have not yet broken down that deck because I want him to beat that deck. That card, the Ward, it's just always is a huge hurdle for him. And Ugin is a card that wins games as soon as it hits the field. So I understand. Every time I play against Ugin, I hate the card, but playing him is just awesome. I'm sure my opponents don't think that, but
right.
yes, I understand why he hates that card.
I remember pulling an Ugin out of a pack of Fate Reforged, and that was, I probably spent more money than he was worth just pulling packs hoping to get him, but I finally got him, and I was like, yeah, buddy. But
The first time, the pre-release for that, um, they, they gave away these free like little pro. They're handing them a turn to go collect one, and the shop owner at the time goes up just a second, allows one of his buddies to cut in line, and he hands him the pack he was about to hand me. We all go sit down as we're opening up our little promo packs. The guy he handed my pack to pops one of the alternate art ones. Oh, you want to talk about an upset customer? But that was my first experience with Ugin.
oh man,
And after that, it took me some time before I was able to pop one of mine as well. I went through like 2 boxes before I came across my first one.
dang man, things we do to get special pieces of cardboard, right?
I know they call it cardboard crack for a reason.
And that brings me to another point I had. Is there a Pokemon shortage in Cleveland, or is it just where I'm at?
As far as I understand, it's everywhere. It's nationwide.
Really?
Um, Here, our WalMarts are empty. They've even like filled in the space with other things. Like they don't. As soon as Pokemon hits the shelf, somebody's right behind them taking it all off. I'm having a hard time getting it in my store. I'm asking for anything old from the vendors. I was like, just give me whatever you got, I'll take. And as this was starting to happen, I pre-ordered a couple things, and that was it. So when all these pre-orders are coming in now, I'm like way behind. So I'm just waiting and waiting for my vendors to restock. And so one of my vendors, like as soon as we get something in, I call you right away, and so you can get it ordered in. So as soon as I get it, it goes right out the door too. So everybody is having this same issue and problem. Um, and even McDonald's, I'm understanding, is having issues with their Happy Meals. It's crazy. It's and what's sad about it is that there you go. My son got a Happy Meal. He's gotten a couple where he got the cards, and he's like, "Here you go, Dad. Can you sell these?" And I was like, well, "We'll see what we could do with them." It was awesome that he did that, and he thought about me for it.
Oh,
But you got a bunch of people that are just scalping this stuff, which is kind of bad for the players that actually collect or play the game. It makes it a little more difficult for them to enjoy it.
and I kind of looked bad because I like week 1. Now, as far as I understand, there is no actual rarity when it comes to the McDonald's Pokemon cards. And it's all just based on what people want. And I happen to, my cousin went and got us all Happy Meals, just one apiece. And I pulled a foil Pikachu out of a free
Nice.
Happy Meal. And that thing was that night. I looked it up and it was going for $200 at the time.
Whew.
Now it's going for 20. A couple
Yeah.
weeks later, I sold
That's what
mine
I'm
at 20.
afraid with when it's coming to Pokemon now because of they blew it up on YouTube and all that, and everybody's trying to get in on the flipping of the cards and selling and all that, that you're going to have this huge spike and then it all comes crashing down. And in the long run could hurt the game. But in short terms, getting a lot of publicities, world's #1 card game or something like that, I believe.
Wow.
So good things and bad things are coming out of it. Bad things are the people that are really involved in the Pokemon play and collecting. It's hurting them where they can't get it. But it is making the card values of some of the older stuff and some of the cards they have higher up, so they're able to flip their cards and get other things as well. So there are pros and cons on it, and it's good advertisement for the game as well, getting people more involved into the play and the collecting of it.
Yeah, I went and I had gone to GameStop for something, and a guy ran in, went directly to the cards, looked up, saw that there was one pack of Pokemon. He's like, "Is this all the Pokemon cards you guys got? You ain't got anything in the back?" And they're like, "Nope, that's the last one we got." And he's like, "Son of a," and walked out the store. Like,
And he didn't even buy the one last pack.
and it's like, yeah, and there was somebody on a Facebook group nearby that posted about going to a bookstore and finding some Pokemon cards, and he bought them up, and he was in his 30s, but he plays. And then a couple teenagers walked in, and they're like, "That old man grabbed the last ones."
Hey, us old men that are playing this game were there when it started.
Mhm.
I believe what 98 Pokemon got started.
It's
98,
actually
99, something about that.
it's actually how I got Caleb Freeman into Magic, because he for some reason, him and our buddies decided we were going to start playing Pokemon on New Year's night a couple of years ago. And I just kept telling them the whole time, like, "Come on, guys, this is a kid's game. Let's get into some real man cards. Let's play some Magic."
Yes, as customers come in and they want to get their kids involved with Magic and stuff like that, I'm like, well, a good gateway or a good starting card game version would be Pokemon, learning how to play that. And my son, I never played Pokemon until about 4 years ago. My son wanted to get into it, so I was like, well, if you're going to collect these cards, you're going to learn to play it. I'm not buying these cards unless you play the game. And so I had to actually sit there and learn how to play so I could teach him. And I thought it was kind of a simple play. Then I play Caleb, and I'm just like, whoa, this is kind of complex, kind of like Magic. But the learning the play style and whatnot is kind of more simplified. But when it comes to the cards and how they intertwine with one another, does get very complex, like in the game Magic.
And I'll move on from Pokemon after this statement, but I don't like playing Pokemon anymore because, like, the ramp up on how powerful things get year after year, set after set. Like, I have a deck from 2 years ago that at the time I won 9 times out of 10 out of anybody I played against. Nowadays, I would win 1 time out of 10. If that. Like, it's just so weak compared to what they have out now. Because they're,
That's what happens with a lot of these card games is that they always got to take it to the next level, and they keep going. So sometimes they got to just kind of almost reboot the set or series and kind of just ramp things down to make it a little more encouraging for their customer base, because it gets harder for some of the new players to get in, and then they're just getting onslaughted every time. And then, yeah, you're right. It's if you get only these certain you have to get these certain cards to be competitive, and it makes it really difficult to want to get in and play the game.
do you see that happening with Magic anytime soon? I know it happened back in 2008, right?
It's happened a couple of times. It's happening again right now. Actually, a lot of these cards are just very overpowered. You just come in and boom, there it is. It's like Ugin, for example. That's a very overpowering card, but there are answers for it, and they do. Magic a lot of times does want to bring in cards that'll answer these overpowering other cards, but at the same time, in recent like Throne of Elrond and Pharaohs and whatnot and Zendikar, you have banned cards that are in standard. They just printed these cards and now they've already banned them and they haven't even rotated yet. So they've made overpowered cards, realized it, so they had to pull them out. And then same thing with the companion ability, utility. I mean, they made something a little overpowering. Now you got to give them A for effort for coming up with something new, trying new things, and trying to do something different and for the players. And so you got to commend them on that. But at the same time, they're breaking their own rules sometimes. With the green card, once upon a time, it's a free card. They said they weren't going to ever print free cards again, and boom, they did it. And then they found out why they did it to begin with, because it breaks the format, makes it really hard, or it makes it where everybody has to play a similar style deck to compete. But with the way they're doing it now, there are so many different styles of decks and versions that you can compete one another with. There is a top tier, so to speak, but it seems like that's changing every other week. So somebody figures out something else that's a lot better than the next deck. So
And that's what I love about Magic so much compared to Pokemon is with Pokemon, you have to have those evolution chains. So really they print out 250 something cards, but you have to be running like one of 6 evolution chains. And the rest of the cards are pretty much pointless. But what I love about Magic, and especially a pre-release, I love a good pre-release because you don't really, unless you've studied the spoilers a lot, you don't really know what you're getting, and you can make anything work.
that's where I believe the skill of a player really shines is during a pre-release or a sealed event, or a draft, so to speak. You you're on the go. You're limited on your card sets. You got to make the best of what you've got, and how good can you make these lower end cards? And that's where you actually get to see the play of some of these cards that normally don't get to see play. And that's where good ideas come from too. That's my favorite format of Magic right there is anything sealed, especially drafting. I love and that and the camaraderie amongst the people at the table, talking, seeing new cards. Oh, I get to build this. Oh, this is going to be awesome. And then you may start building one direction, and then cards stop coming your way, and you got to go a different direction. Or in sealed, you got 6 packs. Here you go. Good luck. And sometimes you can make 2 decks out of them, and then you're like trick up your opponent. It's like, here, I'll play you this deck, and then round or game 2, here's another deck. Good luck. Really
Right.
throw them for a loop. So there's a lot of fun in the sealed events.
Yeah, it's I mean, my luck though is I always get a couple good cards, but I never get enough of that color. So if I want to play it, I got to splash it as a third color, and it's not really worth it at that point in a 40 card deck at a draft. I mean, pre release, but it's all, just whatever you decide in the moment. And I've won games at pre releases with just what I call coffee coaster cards. Cards that I would
Yes.
just put down, put a coffee cup on it, and throw it into the trash.
Those are the cards that win those games, or the uncommons and commons that you normally don't play. Excuse me.
You're
Um,
good.
Back in Avison Restored pre-release, I actually popped Avison, and I
Wow.
was like, you know what? I'm playing this card one way or another in this. I don't have much to build around it, but I'm doing it. I've got this card. I've got to utilize it. Needless to say, I lost horribly, but it was fun.
Hey, as long as you have fun, that's the point of these games is, and it's why certain shops, I won't say names, obviously, but like there's certain shops that I have gone to that I just can't jive with because they're all about having the best deck, the best cards, the most expensive. And they lose track of the fun within the community of the store.
That that comes a lot with the player base, because the players are what make up the store. I
True.
know that is true with my last store. It's true with my store now. Every shop I go to, it seems to be true there that it's the customers that make the store. So it's kind of finding the right outlet for you. For me, I try to make it fun and friendly for everybody and allow you guys to make the store what it is for you. I have customers that are helping make my store grow. Recently, a gentleman has gotten his son involved in my store, and he wants to get him involved with other things. He actually built us this week a Warhammer table. He got the lumber, built the table, painted it, and brought it into the shop. And so we can now have a 4x8 full size table for Warhammer.
Very
And I mean,
nice.
my customers are making my store what it is. And then I have other ones that are there almost daily. Customers come in the door, man, they're meeting and greeting them, saying, "Hey, you want to play games, this and that." So the type of environment is all based on your customers.
Right.
Finding those key customers and nurturing that and rewarding that and bringing that to the table is pretty much one of the better things of having owning a store. So I appreciate that stuff a lot. And as a store owner, if I see like certain things of that nature, you gotta like I've lost customers at this store because we started a pod of Commander and it got competitive with some, and or it was too slow and boring for others, so they just didn't want to come. So as a store owner, I got to recognize that, and I got to be able to find them a play group that's going to coincide with what they're after and what they want to play.
Right. And that's what I was talking about. There's nothing really wrong with playing competitive Commander, but with me at the time, I didn't have the necessarily the money to play competitive Commander, and I just wanted to
Mm-hmm.
play Commander. I had a Krenko Mob Boss deck, and you know, I I mean, it wasn't a bad deck. It's still not a bad deck. It's a good deck for cheap, but it's just when somebody's pulling like an infinite combo on turn 3, you're like, what in the heck?
It's like, why did I even sit down to play the game with you? Uh, I've noticed that, and so what I started doing was every month or 2 months, I'll actually do winter boxes events on Saturdays, where it does bring the competitive players in and give them a format to unleash their skill, their decks that they've built and spent so much time and money on. And then afterwards or before or during, it's like, hey guys, let's do a fun, friendly game. Let's do something, see what kind of fun and crazy things we can do with our decks and not try to just win on turn 2, turn 5. Let's see how far we can take it and see how enjoyable. I think this past Saturday I had a group. There was about 5 or 6 of them. Both games lasted over a couple hours, and I mean, you just hear hooting and hollering. They had a good old time. So I love seeing that, and I love hearing that, and peeking in every once in a while, see the board state, and go, "Who let this happen?" There's like 1,000 creatures and all this. So it it does come down to the players themselves, and I mean, I love seeing it when it just works out perfect like that.
Well, I'm glad the store's going well for you, and I'm glad that the community's doing good there. It's the one part of Cleveland that I miss is that Magic community is. I mean, there's one up here, but with my anxiety and stuff, it's just hard to get into it. And but I liked knowing people that just over the years, like even if I don't know them, the person I'm playing against, they're the younger brother of somebody I played with in high school or something like that. Like it's just there's this community of people that all really know each other, and when there's a new person involved, like I said with my buddies Ray and Jarrett when I first started there, and I know I've done this for many people before too. Like, all right, let's make you a deck. Let's see what we can do. It ain't going to be good, but maybe you can hang in there for a little bit until you start getting some more cards.
That is one of my greatest hurdles is when the new player base comes in, having them feel welcomed and things of that nature. But a lot of my customers, they tend, especially on the newer players, they'll open up a pack, and if they have, they'll take like their rare or whatever card out of it, and they'll take the rest of it and they hand it on over. It's like, here you go. You need to get your collection going. So I like seeing that, and I help out with that as well. And introducing them to players, and when a new person comes into the shop, is making them feel welcomed and stuff like that, and introducing them to people. Because a lot of times, most people they're looking for an outlet to meet and greet and find new friends, and that's what our shops and a lot of card shops are based off of. So making people feel welcomed or just showing up is half of the challenge is getting people to show up, but when they do show up, man, just like yourself, go to your shop, just hang out. I mean, hanging out, and that helps break the tension, ice. You start meeting people. Because when I first moved up here, I moved from Gwinnett County. When I moved up here, I didn't know anybody in the Magic Circle because everybody around here, they knew everybody and all that. So it took me some time getting into the scene around here, but I hung in with it. And then we opened up the circle, and then everybody came to us, and then I was pretty much accepted at that point. And when we closed it down, every time I ran into somebody, they're like, hey, when you open up a new shop, when's this going to happen? Can't wait to see you in the next pre-release and stuff like that. And it's like, oh, finally I'm accepted and welcomed and stuff like that. But yeah, sometimes it can be aggravating and not fun going and stuff like that. But yeah, you gotta have to just keep sticking in there for it. So
And the last question I got for you um, is, do you sell anything, like sell any of your stuff online? Do you have a web store? Is it all in person?
for the most part, it is in person. My Magic cards are on TCG Player under Arena Games. Um, they that's the only outlets I've got at the moment. My stock and inventory isn't to a high enough level where I believe I should be good enough to compete on the online. But as I'm growing, I am looking at that outlet source. So do look for me in the future for that, and I'll keep you posted as well.
All right, and definitely if you open a web store in the future, we'll share that to the fans. And thank you for coming on the show, man. Is there any last words you got? Anything you want to say to the players out there? Tell Caleb to
No,
work
just
on his deck.
thank you, and thank you for having me, and for the players and all my customers. Thank you a lot. Y'all make this happen. I do appreciate it. We have good times, and I hope to continue on with all that. And see y'all soon.
All right. And this has been The Confound Millennial, starring Steven Stirvin Michaels and featuring Jake of Arena Games, Cleveland, Georgia. Check 'em out.